DJs, there are many things we need to know in order to do our job, like knowing how to when and mix music, knowing what music to play, and knowing how to use all the equipment that we use. However, when it comes to equipment, you do need to know how to efficiently set it up, break it down, and transport it. The easiest way to do that is to build systems that help with all the above. Your equipment should be in a case, and it should be pre-wired. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a pre-wired microphone rack, and if you stay till the end of this video, I have a massive surprise for all of you subscribers. Listen, DJ equipment is not cheap. Well, not all of it. So whatever you decide to spend your hard-earned cheddar on, you definitely want to make sure you protect it. Keeping your equipment in a rack or a case is the best way to make sure that not only your equipment stays safe, but it has the best chance of working every time that you turn it on. There are more benefits to keeping your equipment in cases though. For one, if you pre-wire that case, your setup time becomes way faster. And I know some of you are thinking, I'm already the fastest man on the planet when it comes to setting up and breaking down, but really think about it. Are you plugging each individual thing in? Just because you're fast at that doesn't mean that you're fast at setting up. It just means you're fast at doing it with your equipment. If it was in a case and it was pre-wired, it would always be faster and easier, and not to mention cleaner. One more quick reminder that you want to stay to the end of this video. I have a huge surprise. Stay till the end. So what I'm going to do next is show you everything that I've purchased for this rack. I have hand selected each item carefully. See, when you're building a rack, you want to make sure that you don't either buy too many things that you're not going to use, or that you don't buy enough for what you need. So you need to really make sure that you plan out what you're purchasing for your rack. You want to make sure you have everything accounted for. That way, when you go to build your rack, you can do it in one shot and not have to wait to order parts to finish it. Starting with the rack itself, this is a relatively compact unit. It's only 12 inches deep and it's only 2 rack spaces high. When you're looking to buy a rack, you want to look at how many rack spaces it has. Typically, things are 1 rack space. There are other items like digital mixers and things that are larger, but for the most part, things are just 1 rack space. So you have to think ahead about how much equipment you're going to put in this rack. For this particular rack, we're only doing microphones, which means we didn't need a lot of spaces and it didn't have to be deep. But if you're doing more than microphones, or if you're adding something like an antenna distro or a firm and power conditioner, you want to make sure that you have the amount of rack spaces available. This particular rack is actually a rack that's designed specifically for microphone units. So on the end caps, you have microphone cutouts so you can safely and securely transport your mics in the rack. You don't have to put them anywhere separate. And on the other end, it has a zipper pocket for you to fit your antennas. Now, I'm pretty sure the antennas would fit in this thing just fine without putting them in the zipper pocket. However, just to keep everything nice and safe and make sure nothing breaks when you're transporting it, I would recommend putting your antennas in the pocket. Next, we have the microphone. I opted for Shure BLX 4R microphones for this unit. Now, if you're asking why I went with BLX instead of an SLX or a QLX, well, you're gonna have to wait to the end of the video to find out. Here we have the supporting hardware to help make this rack look extra clean. You see, I didn't want antenna cables and XLRs and a power cable hanging out of the back of this thing. That defeats the purpose. I wanted it to look clean and be super efficient when it comes to setting up. So everything gets put on a panel. I have a panel for my power and my XLR. I have a panel for my antennas, and I also have a panel that's blank that just sits in the front to cover the front space that's not being used so you don't see all the wires sitting inside. Lastly, we have the XLR and power panel connectors. The one thing you're going to notice is these are already pre-made. There's an XLR male on one end, an XLR female on the other. For my power connection, I chose to go with Powercon. There's an Edison plug on the end of that Powercon. They do sell panel mounts where you can wire them yourselves. You can actually solder the wires and make your own XLRs and power. I just didn't feel like dealing with that. It's a lot easier to just buy these things on Amazon. So I did. That way I could just plug in the XLR to the mics, attach the XLR panel mount to the panel, along with the power, and call it a day. Speaking of power, I also opted to go with a surge protector in this unit instead of a power conditioner. Now, if you watched my video on how to power your DJ setup, if you haven't, it's right here, then you know that I am not a huge fan of surge protectors. I am all about power conditioners. However, with a unit like this, it's not something that you're going to be plugging directly into a wall. You're probably going to plug it into your main power supply, which for me means it's getting plugged into a power conditioner anyway. Even with conceding and going with a surge protector though, I still chose to go with a Furman surge protector because I trust the brand. They're well known, their stuff has never failed me, and honestly, I'm a huge Furman guy. So I opted to go with the Furman surge protector. So let's build this thing. The first thing I'm gonna do is install the microphone receivers and the blank panel on the front of this rack. The reason why I choose to do the microphones and the blank panel first is because I need to assess the back end once I get those mics in to see how much room I have to put in the other things like the surge protector and the other panels. Now that we have the microphones and the blank panel mounted, it's time to assemble our antenna panel. I opted for an antenna panel that has 4 antenna connection points because on the back of each microphone, there are 2 antenna connections. Now, typically I would use an antenna combiner and power distro unit for something like this, but due to budget this time, we didn't do it. So instead, I opted to go with an antenna panel with 4 antenna connections. That way each antenna has its own connection and each microphone can work independently of each other. So the next thing I'm gonna do is test fit the surge protector and the power supply. Now, you always want to test fit everything first. You never just want to put your stuff in, button it all up and call it a day because there's a chance that it might not fit, especially in a shorter unit like this one. Now we have to assemble the patch panel. And honestly, this is the most tedious part of this build because the screws and the nuts are super small. And I don't even have big hands. I couldn't imagine if I had big hands because I had enough trouble getting the screws into the hole and getting the nuts onto the screws with these little guys right here. It took a lot of patience, but once I got them hand screwed together, I was able to use a set of needle nose pliers and a small screwdriver to firmly tighten them down so they don't move. So we have everything together. Now we need to test. Yes, we're not buttoning anything up yet. We want to make sure that all of our connections are good and things are working before we button up our unit, because the last thing I want to do is think I have everything together and then something doesn't power on or an antenna isn't getting signal. So I test everything before I button this thing up. Now it's good to be buttoned up. So assembling this thing can be tricky due to the limited space. Another part of this build where you need to bring your patience. The last thing you want to do is cram this stuff in and kink an XLR cable or an antenna cable. You want to make sure that your cables are good inside the rack, because if they're not, then it's pointless to even have a rack in the first place. So bring your patience, patiently screw in your panels, make sure your wires are good, and then you're buttoned up and good to go. And now it's time to look at the finished product. Nothing makes me happier than seeing things neatly put together into a rack and knowing that all I have to do with this rack is connect an XLR and a power, put my antennas on, and I am ready to rock with 2 microphones. This is my favorite thing to do, to put stuff together and make it make sense. Just look at the beauty of it. I love it. And guess what? There's a chance that you could love it too. You made it to the end of this video, and now it's time to tell you what my major surprise is. So I am going to be giving this rack away. You heard right. We are giving it away for free. All you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and leave a comment. If you're already subscribed to the channel, then just like the video and leave a comment. On Sunday, December 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm gonna do a YouTube Live where I draw the winner of this mic rack. So if you want the opportunity to win a freshly built microphone rack with 2 BLX 4R microphones completely free, I'll even cover the shipping. All you have to do is subscribe, like, and comment on this video. Also, you get bonus entries if you follow me on TikTok and Instagram. So, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below, follow me on social media platforms, and enter your chance to win a microphone rack for absolutely free. And of course, if you made it to the end of this video, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If you found anything useful, please feel free to like or subscribe. Also remember, if you subscribe and like this video and comment, it puts you into the contest to win this mic rack. I also have a ton of videos on this channel explaining the tech that we use as DJs, along with more videos coming down the pipeline going over all the technology that we use every day at our events. My name is Seth Velez, aka DJ Seth V. This is DJ Tech Tips. Thank you for watching, and we out.